that they had with George because George had made some sort of sacrifice for them so that they could do that things could happen for them that they couldn't do for themselves. That through his building and loan, he was able to loan them money so they could buy homes. He cared for them. He looked after them. When they needed money, his bank was able to loan them money to care for them. And out of their level of gratitude, it was easy for them to be generous. Out of their level of truly being grateful, then generosity began to flow from them. That their generosity was connected to this deeper level of appreciation of what somebody had done for them. The reason why we become generous and we're generous as people is because what we're shaped by is understanding that we live in this deep level of gratitude of what God has done for us, what we couldn't do for ourselves. That out of God's profound love, that he gives us things that we don't deserve. He cares for us far beyond than we could even care for ourselves. That the more that we understand the depth and the width of God's love, it flows, what begins to fill us, so it flows out of us then is this gratitude, is then we then live in this place of generosity because we are truly blessed so that we can bless others. Secondly, though, is that when we talk about generosity, is people often say, well, yeah, but I don't have, so I can't really give. I can't be generous because I'm not like others. But what I want you to understand is that everyone has the opportunity and the availability to give. One of the scenes inside of this that I think is so important for our mindset is, of course, they come in and they say, hey, listen, he learns from a friend who's been very, very successful in the plastics industry, is that he's able to give $25,000, which is an overwhelming amount of money in this time. But that gift was pretty amazing. But every gift was also very amazing. That every person who walked through the door, and whether they reached out and they dumped out change on the table or they gave a handful of dollars, is that every single gift shows us and reminds us this powerful biblical principle. And this idea is that everyone has the opportunity and the ability to give. Proverbs 19:6 says, many will seek the favor of a generous person, and every person is a friend to one who gives gifts. I love it. I'll say this again. Every person is a friend to him who gives gifts. Now I read that, I laugh, I'm like, well, yeah, duh, right? Like if you've ever had an opportunity to be around someone who's like, wealthy and generous, those are really great friends to have, right? Like someone who's like, they walk into places and they don't have to ask really important questions like, how much is this gonna cost, right? Have you ever, I was in college and there was a college friend of mine. I grew up in a small little town in Northwest Ohio. He grew up in inner city Chicago. His family was very, very wealthy. And I spent a spring break in New York City with his uncle who worked in the music industry. We walked into restaurants and they cleared tables for him. And I remember going into places and walking around I'm so glad this guy's my friend. I need to have more friends like this. And so we read through that and what it means is we need to, but what he's talking about this is get this, is that this is not just about the physical things of a friend who gives gifts, but if you also notice in life that you become attracted or drawn to people who give you things like encouragement, empathy, time, they give of themselves, a person finds a friend in him who gives gifts, is that those friends who give of themselves, not just which they have and own, but they give of themselves to you, is what Proverbs is reminding us, is that all of us have the opportunity and the ability to give something of ourselves. Is that too often what we connect of generosity is about money or physical things, but there's also things that God gives us that we can also be generous in. Because number 3 is our mindset is actually the only limitation to our generosity, is our mindset. 2 Corinthians 9 says this, he says, now I say this, the one who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly. The one who sows generously will also reap generously. Each one must do just as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. And God is able to make all grace overflow to you so that always having all over again, he's sufficient in all things, as in he's going to continue to flow in us and through us. In other words, the more that we give, the more that he blesses. Now this, immediately our minds oftentimes kind of go into this, well, if I give away money, God's going to give me more money. But it's not about money. It's about this, that what God begins to fill us up with his love, spirit, grace, peace, and love. So then as we begin to love and care for other people, is that when he continues to fill us up with the very things of him, that whatever is in our hand and whatever ability we have to give, he's calling us